A strengths approach really is gracious because you're giving people grace to be the fullness of who they are. And the truth is that when someone learns their strengths, they're not actually learning a superpower. They're learning a tendency. It's just a recurring way that they think or feel or how they behave. But it doesn't mean they're going to be good at it.
Welcome to Vibecast, the podcast that dives deep into the heartbeat of workplace culture. I'm your host, Kristi. Join me in conversations with extraordinary leaders as we unravel their experiences, both positive and negative, that have impacted workplace culture. This podcast is more than storytelling. It's about actionable insights. Are you ready to transform the vibe at your workplace? Let's go. Today, I'm hanging out with Brandon Miller, the CEO and founding partner of 34 Strong. He's built one of the largest strengths-based leadership coaching firms around and works with companies to turn employee engagement from a headache into a fun, authentic conversation centered around strengths. He also recently acquired Churchill Leadership Group, a global executive coaching and leadership development firm. In addition to his strengths-based coaching business, he supports working parents through an organization called Incredible Family, which is an initiative designed to equip working parents with the tools to thrive at home and at work. And when he's not doing all that, he's a husband, dad of 7, and proud grandpa. So listen in to hear all that Brandon has to share. All right, Brandon. Well, this has been a long time because we first met as an introduction for you to be a guest on my podcast, which then turned into come help me do some things with my organization, which we don't need to get into. But I did. And then we've kind of this is a full circle moment of okay, we're back where we started. And I'm really excited to have you on the show. So thanks for being here.
That was a really polite way of saying that I called you in desperation, saying, help. I hear you do this kind of work. Help. And then 2 years later, you're like, okay, we both think the dust has settled enough that we can come back to the original introduction and be like, cool, let's talk about vibes. All right, let's do that now.
Well, in all fairness, you said to me, I want to be on your podcast. I don't think I'm in the best position organizationally to be able to have a clear mind to talk about that. So that was mature of you.
Thank you.
So it's been great getting to know you, and I'm really excited to have you. And as I do with all guests, I want to hear from you how you define vibes. What does it mean to you? What does it look like? You tell me.
So I have a collection of kids in my life with an age range from 32 down to 15. And so I've heard the term "that's a vibe" 1,000 times. And so when they're describing it, they're describing an energy, they're describing something that they can connect to, they're describing something attractive to them, something appealing to them. So I've understood vibe in its present nomenclature to be something that is pleasant, appealing, and intriguing, inviting, that one wants to be a part of. So that's And I like that definition. I like the way that can feel. I like the way that can draw us in, because as we relate it to work, if one could honestly say my job's a vibe, I don't know that you get much bigger of a compliment than that.
Yeah.
And so if we think about work as a space where we all exchange energy, we exchange ideas, we exchange pleasantries, platitudes, life, sometimes unpleasantries. I think work can have its vibe, and sometimes the way we would describe it is not pleasant, not pleasing, not the energy we want to be a part of. So I think in light of where your topic goes, I love that we can start with that. Let's create a vibe. Let's have a space where we want to be attracted to be there.
Yeah, I like that you said something that draws you in, right? Because if you think about organizations or even coffee shops or shopping malls, right? There's different vibes that exist within those too, and they're all intended to draw you in. Now, I will say this, it doesn't draw everybody in. Not every organization is for every person, but it is something that's intentionally drawing certain types of people into, or certain skill sets or something like that. So I like that drawing you in, like you want more of it. And sometimes there is unpleasantries too, right? So it's more what it should be is that there's more of the good than there is of the bad, but it's not always the case. And you know it when you feel it.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about kind of your journey in this space. So where you're at today, we'll get to, right? And what you're doing to impact organizations for the future is pretty cool. But talk to me about like, and not your through your resume, but kind of like your journey to get where you're at today and any, leaders that you encountered along the way or defining moments you
Sure.
had where you said, creating the right experience and impacting organizations is important to me.
Yeah, I spent the first 10 years of my career serving as a pastor, and you would have thought being in that kind of context where the whole mission around what you do is to help the world. Like that's the whole purpose. And in that space, unfortunately, I encountered the worst boss I've ever had in my entire life. Like
Oh, wow.
the worst situation. And I would say as a result, I was probably not a great boss either. I think some could probably make that claim about me. And mind you, I was in my 20s, coming into later 20s, early 30s. And so when I made the decision, like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I can't have the impact this is having on my wife and kids. I can't have the impact this is having on me personally. And I decided to cut that and go a different direction. I resolved that I want to be a part of not letting this sort of thing happen. I want to be a part of like, how do you help founders? How do you help leaders create really great spaces that people, yes, have to be at for livelihood and,
Sure.
supporting themselves, and yes, have to do whatever the job is that they're required to do. But at the same time, like, do we really have to make this punishing? Does it have to be harsh? Does it have to be critical? Does it have to be demeaning? And so that was like my genesis of coming from a place of trauma into like a understanding that thank God I have the gifts and talents to be an entrepreneur, and I have the drive and I have the energy to go and do the front side of that work and win business. But that was my I would say sometimes we are very motivated by moving toward pleasure, and other times we're motivated by moving towards pain, moving away from pain. And I think many would tell us that we're probably more motivated by getting away from pain. And I think for me at that time period of my life, I was running from pain. I wanted
What made
nothing to do with it.
him or her the worst, right? Is there something like if you could characterize it by something like what were some of these things
Couple
that
things,
made them
couple
the
things
worst?
that I think that are the worst thing to do to an adult human is public humiliation. I think that is probably one of the most traumatic, impactful, life-defining things you could do to somebody. And this leader, that was his trade currency.
Wow.
That was the way this leader manipulated and controlled people, was to publicly humiliate them, use them as examples, use them as what not to do or be. And it was at times a subtle, other times overt, sometimes just flagrant. And it could happen in a dinner party, it could happen from a stage, it could happen. And watching it over time and realizing, whoa, and then confronting the behavior and just flat out, this is number one, this is not in line with what our values are. Two, this is a horrible way to lead people.
Right.
This is highly manipulative. It's mean.
Yeah.
It's hurtful. It causes division. And for my troubles, it turned on me.
So, did you find yourself though working under this leader like feeling like you had to do the same to your were you managing a team or did you have a team at this time? Because I heard you
Yeah,
say
I did. I
earlier, like,
did. I did.
therefore, yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't resort to that behavior. Thankfully, I never. I think innately, I've always been a bully buster. Like growing up, I was the kid that if I caught you bullying, I was gonna beat your butt. Like I would become the defender, and
Like
I would
you'd get
fight.
yourself in trouble because
Oh
then
no,
you like put yourself in the middle.
I'd literally fisticuff over it. Like if you're gonna act like that, then you're gonna contend with me, and I don't mind doling out a thrashing if necessary. I
Yeah.
don't mind, because I just hated it. Like, it was innate. I think it's just
Yeah.
a God-given part of my character. Like, I hate people being treated because of what, they aren't as quick to the uptake. They are
Right.
different. They have a disability, whatever it was. I hate it. And so, because I've always carried that, I couldn't ever do that. But I did find myself taking on qualities that could be manipulative. I found myself taking on qualities that could be, where you're not always forthright. You kind of try to work things to get what you ultimately want from a team. And it was a really great study for me in, like, what not to be, how
Yeah.
I don't want to lead a business this way. I don't want to lead people this way. And I I actually, it's fun being years in life away now from a season where you can mark a line and go, gosh, that really helped define the sort of business that I wanted to lead from that point forward.
Hmm.
Because it was literally walking out of one into leading a business, and I've never looked back. That's been nearly the
Wow.
last 20 years.
Wow. So talk about that transition, right? Because I think sometimes it can be hard to unwind, like the lack of trust or the feeling or the behaviors that you started to take on, right? So talk through like that transition and that journey to ultimately where you're at today.
Well, I'll tell you that there are many ways we self-medicate pain. Like, we do. We
Yeah.
self-medicate pain.
Yes.
And I caught a pretty good liking of certain chemicals
Okay.
that made me feel less pain than what I was going through, and
Got it.
and for that, put on weight and developed some poor habits around fitness and health. And
Talk about
I
impact one person can have on.
well, it was bigger than that, right? It was like
Sure.
that lead domino, and then career change, and this all happened right at the greatest economic crisis since the Great Depression. So my snowball involved career shift to bankruptcy in a year, and
Wow.
losing our home, losing our I was fiscally, well, I would say, on paper, assets, I was a seven-figure person, yeah, on assets. And within 1 year's time of shifting out of that, and I think a lot of people can relate to the 2008 reality, it was like off the cliff. And so it wasn't just like, ooh, that hurt. Now I'm starting a business, and now I'm out hustling. But I think for me, what made all the difference is the support of my wife, and having a family that depended on me, and needing to, suck it up, buttercup, like, get back to work, get out there, make it happen. You don't have a lot of time to mess around. And so, yeah, that was a pretty wild transition in life.
Yeah. So then how did you start to create what you're creating today? Like what was it that I won't call it like a trigger. That's such a triggering word. But what was like the prompting that you got that created what you have today and what you're doing in the world today? Like, and how did it start?
Yeah, so I learned about a strengths-based approach or strengths philosophy in the ministry. So while pastoring, I learned about Strengths Finder and transforming a workplace with a strengths-based approach. I loved it. So I actually was keen to do something. And a lot of people in ministry are bivocational. And so I always had a side gig running. And so one of those side gigs was coaching consulting with strengths, and not from a formal certification from Gallup or anything like that, because they didn't offer it yet, but through just some resources where I could get enough training to feel like, all right, I could do this. I could take the book and use it like a textbook, and did that. So because that carried into businesses I did, the idea just kept expanding, where I thought, gosh, I think you could build a real brand off of this. And so when I contacted the parent organization Gala. I happened to reach them right literally the day that they had put out their global certification.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, they're like, well, you called it a great time. We just opened our first cohort and you can sign up. I said, so there's room? Yeah, you can get in. And so I figured out what the cost was and, figured out how I was going to have to make that work. And January of 2013, I was in the first class. And so that was the catalyst to take the existing brand that I operated from and merge it into what became 34 Strong, and 12 and a half years later has been the brand we've built from and built off of.
Wow. Yeah. Created that scalability, which is awesome. Right. So here you are today with this great business and impacting organizations. And so, like, explain to us a little bit about like the values that you sit on within maybe personally and your organization that are so strong that make you the organization that you are to one, impact internally and impact the organizations that you serve.
Yeah. So going back to my own conviction about the kind of business I'd want to build, the kind of leader I wanted to be, the sort of vibe I wanted when one would come to work here was I wanted to be a recognized and award-winning workplace. I wanted that to come from the workforce. Wanted them to be able to say with authenticity that this is a place that I want to be. It's employer of choice. Like we can get really, really high quality people because we can stand behind a very thoughtful, very intentional, value-based culture that people can thrive in. They could grow. Now, it's not perfect. There's still people here that still act
We're
like people.
human.
We all are going to have days and times when we don't operate at our best and we have challenges. That's why I was calling for help when you and I talk because
Hey,
you get
you
your
survived it to tell the story, right? That's the
well,
important part.
you get down to a path and then you're asking questions like, what do you do when you have people in the wrong role?
Right,
and,
right.
and
Those
what do
things
you
become important to supporting your vibe though, right? Like in supporting like the culture
serious?
that you want because you don't get it right every time.
No, and when you realize, oh my, like we have a problem. We have
Yeah.
people in roles that are not going to get us where we're going, and there's economics here, and so having to confront difficulty in your business that feels counterculture and yet really is acceptable. Work does require hard decisions to maintain the health and vitality. So I really wanted to build a place that if I'm going to go help build amazing workplaces, we have to be one. And that's always been our internal mantra: is we need to eat our own cooking, we need to practice what we preach, and we need to be
Yeah.
really committed to that.
Okay, so why take me back for a minute. Why strengths-based coaching? Like what attracted you to that in the first place? Like how did you get because there's lots of different options out there, right? But this has been very intentional by you of your side hustle which became your main hustle. And so tell me a little bit about that.
So first of all, it's helpful to note that I don't have great attention span. And I really don't do well with too many options. Like once that happens, I dilute quickly. And so a strengths-based approach resonated at a very deep level with me because I just could see the absolute power of really finding out who a person is and helping them to become the very best of who that person is. And so Dr. Donald Clifton, who invented StrengthsFinder, he used to write and say, look, every one of us has these God-given innate abilities, but we don't have all of them. We have specific ones, and people spend their lives trying to define themselves as who they're never going to be. They're never going to be this idealistic person out here doing these things, and they're actually working against themselves. And the evidence is clear. I mean, the level of just angst and frustration and difficulty, and the reality of how much we compare and contrast and position ourselves with, if I only could, in this longing. And so I really resonated with, gosh, what a powerful way to give the world a way to understand itself and how to then become and the the very best contributor to this world that can be. But what really turned it, I mean, what transformed me was
Yeah.
bringing it home to teenagers. So I had at the time three teenage children, and I think it was like sixth grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, and ninth grade. So three
Oh my
kids
gosh,
going
I'm
into
there right now. I have fifth
okay.
grade, seventh grade, 10th grade.
So right then, and I had found that my children and I were separating. We were finding that natural space a teenager goes through where they're establishing independence and they want to be who they are. And so I wanted a way to connect with them authentically to who they are, not who I
Ugh.
want them to be. And two primary things happened. One, my oldest daughter was an alien to us. Both my wife and I, for the life of her, could not figure this child out. And we used to think like, oh my gosh, we broke her,
Yeah.
like she's the oldest. We got married really young. We broke this kid. What are we gonna do? And so when we took Clifton's Strengths and asked her to take it, she was old enough to take it herself. The coolest thing happened. My wife and I happened to share the exact same number, 34 out of 34. So if the top strengths are the ones you most range in these, you most relate to and engage without thought. They're either core strengths that you were born with genetically or growth strengths that you just have acquired and used as part of your upbringing and what you needed. And so those are really where most of us live, usually 10 to 12 strengths, 8 to 12 strengths. So we both have the same number, 34, 34. So that's like saying it's an irrelevant strength. We don't use it to try to be this person is very difficult. And you really have dissonance to it. It's like, ugh, like it's
Uh-huh.
not, you're just not attracted to it. Our daughter takes this assessment and our 34 is her number one.
Which is what?
Restorative was the strength. And we're looking at her going, oh my God, we are so sorry. Like we have tried to turn you into us for
Uh,
years. And
wow.
you can't be us. You have to be you. And we need to know who you are and understand you and appreciate the person that you are and help her grow into the fullness of who that person is. And it changed everything. Like all of a sudden, my daughter and we are very close to this day. I love my Bailey. Like she is such a sweet, sweet daughter. She's a perfect oldest. Like she is absolutely prototypical number one. She's the second mom, very mothering, very caring. And so being able to support her choices for, college career, her eventual marriage, now her as a mom, and I mean it changed everything. And
And
so
did
for
she see that too when
oh
you guys like started having these conversations? It gave you like
oh
common
yeah.
ground, right?
Oh my gosh. So my wife and I wrote a book titled Play to Their Strengths, a new approach to parenting your kids as God made them, published book that we wrote. And Bailey was old enough that for us to quote her, she had to read every bit of it. She had veto power in the book because we wanted to tell her story. And for our daughter to say, it absolutely changed my life. It absolutely changed the way I relate to you. It totally, from that day on, it's never gone back. I mean, I look at it and go, it saved my family. Like it changed my family because to say it to you this way, a strengths approach really is gracious because you're giving people grace to be the fullness of who they are. And the truth is that when someone learns their strengths, they're not actually learning a superpower, they're learning a tendency.
Right.
It's just a recurring way that they think or feel or how they behave. But it doesn't mean they're going to be good at it. It doesn't mean that they're, going to use it for its best and highest use because the word restorative is actually just neutral. It just means you can be great at these things, but it also means you can be really bad at
Right.
being restorative.
Wasn't
And
there the
so,
quote, the strength overused is a weakness, right? Like
yeah, or overuse, misuse,
misuse. Yeah.
misunderstood. And so what was fascinating for Bailey is that Restorative has as one of its superpowers that they can see and solve problems with tremendous courage. The drawback, though, is because they can see problems so quickly and easily. When it turns on itself, they're very self-critical, very much. They see what's wrong with themselves. So I got to spend my daughter's last 2 years in my home coaching her on how to move out of self-criticism, how to see who she could be and move off of, honey, that's you overplaying a strength. Nobody sees what you're seeing right now. You're being really critical, and it's bringing you down. Let's talk about what can we do with that. And it was, I look back and I just think, oh my goodness, like the grace involved in that to be able to help this child realize that, Bailey cuts and colors hair
Okay.
mostly for women,
Okay.
and her clients would tell her she's a therapist.
Okay.
you know like, and she cuts dad's hair. And I would say that my daughter is such a great listener. She's so good at connecting to her clients. She's
What a
almost impossible
what a
to get an
gift.
appointment with. Oh yeah, she's almost
Yeah.
impossible because she's also really 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 good at what she
Yeah.
does. And so this, like, women are going to do their hair. Like, I don't care what the economy is, women are going to do their hair. Like, Bailey is phenomenal at it, and in part because, like, she can look at something and immediately go, okay, here's where I can fix it. Here's what I could do. Da, da,
Oh.
da, 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 da. And it happens in nanoseconds.
What
So
an
now
amazing gift to be able to like take your strengths, pair it with a career, and like be so busy doing what you love, you don't know what else to do because there's only so much time in the day. Like what I mean, it couldn't be any more that's really, really magical.
and so that was it. Like, so anytime I would go out doing talks for my business, I just talk about my teenagers. And executives would be like, what? like, does that help marriage too? And I'm like, heck yes, it does. And they're like, oh my gosh, if this could help my family,
Yeah.
this could seriously do some great work on my team. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, like, it's not like the assessment itself. It's just a psychometric assessment. Like there's thousands, maybe more. I mean, thousands. It just happens to be a very sound philosophy around, let's figure out what your tendencies are, and now let's adjust our approach with you. Let's lead you accordingly. Let's help you to be positioned to do what it is you do best, because you're going to be better off for it. And the whole place, the whole team, everyone's better off for it, the whole
Yeah.
family.
How have you seen this transform organizations? So, like,
Oh
and
man.
I'm gonna bring that into my house because, like I said, I have a fifth grader, a seventh grader, and a 10th grader, and like I have an
Perfect ages, by the way.
yes. Oh, and it's a great season of life. But I agree. Like, if we can just even guide them closer to who they are, what an amazing gift that they can have as they kind of launch out into the world. But okay, so how have you seen this impact organizations, transform organizations? Like what transform humans within organizations, right? Like what is that? What have you
So first of all,
seen?
I should tell you that one of my top strengths is the strength of belief, which means that I have certain core values that I can't break them because I hurt me if I do. And one of those core values I have is I can't sell something that doesn't work. I can't stand behind it. I could never sell a car if I knew the car wasn't going to work. Like, I just can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
It's just a violation. So when I go to sell this to somebody, what I'm telling them is, look, number one, culture change is extremely difficult, if not nearly impossible, because whatever established your norms are the norms, and it's in the water, like it's deep. So if you really understand that we want to measure your workplace, we want to know what we could know, whether we use an employee engagement survey or just use other KPIs that are important to them, and figure out, what's the health here. How what's retention look like? What do performance reviews look like? And so once we get a baseline, in implementing a strengths-based approach is not a quick fix. It's a time and pressure reality. And what essentially we're doing is we have to get down to people leadership, mostly at the supervision level. And we have to help them realize that we're not going to transform the job, because the job is the job is the job. Whatever it is you sell or do, someone's got to do the things. But what we are going to change is how you talk to people. We're going to change how you meet with people. We're going to change how you evaluate people. We're going to give you tools to be different. And we're going to give you permission. This is big, that you might not be the right person in a people leadership job. You might be a really great process leader, not a great people leader. You might be hardwired to do different things. And so
that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. Every single training I've ever done with people leaders, I've had at least one person bow out and go back to an individual contributor job. Every single, because they're suffering.
For
because
sure. They're miserable.
If you lead a dysfunctional, disengaged team and you're the boss of that team, your life sucks almost as bad as if you had disengaged, dysfunctional teenagers. It's the best comparison I can give.
For sure.
When you're parenting teenagers who are rebellious and doing bad stuff, and you keep getting those phone calls from the school, other parents, coaches, I mean, think about what that does to you.
Yeah.
As a parent, you're like, come on, you're killing me, kid. Like, why are you doing this to me? Like, it's very personal. Yeah, but when it's your team, and every time the exec calls, what's going on with that team member of yours? What's going on with and you're over here like, bro, can you pull your stuff together? Like, you're not just making you look bad, you're making me look bad. Like, what do we got to do here to get you? And so what leaders resort to is what they know. And what they know is either authoritarian approach, where I just got to go harsh, hard, demeaning, rude, public humiliation, louder, stronger, strongly worded emails, threats. I got to go to this just awful place that no adult wants to be talked to this way. Nobody wants to be singled out. No one wants public humiliation. And that's what authoritarian does. It's drill sergeant. It has its place in pockets. Like, if we are in crisis, if I use military, if bullets are flying, authoritarian has its place, right? Yeah. In the office on Tuesday around coffee is not the place.
Get rid of it. Yeah.
No, it's too intense. And so either you get authoritarianism, or you get permissive leaders that just become whatever. I'm just passive. I'm just wanting to be liked. I don't care if I'm respected. And permissive leaders are doormats, and they can be actually well liked because they can be really caring, but not usually respected unless they're super individual contributors who are also nice. Like, they'll get along pretty well until they get a real intense, like a high performer really struggles under them, because they create a space where they put a shield in place, and it's hard to get past it. Hard the ceiling, if you will. It's hard for that high performer to get past. So what we call it is authoritative, or a strengths-based approach to leadership. It blends, right? You have to have strength to give people expectations, hold them accountable to do their jobs, have consequences when they don't. And at the same time, you do have to be caring and compassionate, and you need to inspire, and you need to show love and concern and authentic interest in the people you lead, as though you cared about their well-being. Their well-being matters to you because they're on your team.
Right.
And so if you can blend that, those are super leaders. Like, they get the best loyalty, they get the best respect, they get the best numbers. And so those are the places where people just stay long. They're strong. They defy usually their industry. They're defying it because they're creating a space where it's so stand out. And I love doing it. So for going on 13 years, that's what we do, is we go turn very difficult workplaces into an oasis of awesomeness, and people want to be there. And it's rewarding in a couple of ways. One, because they really do better in whatever they're trying to do. They just perform better as an org. and two, the reward of just people saying, "Oh my, I love my job, and my life is better, and my family's better, and my finances are better,
Yeah,
and I'm
because everything leaks
healthier."
out, right? Like who you are as a human, you don't just like separate it because you walked through the front door of your office or because you opened your laptop and you're like, okay, I'm just like different and none of that's, I'm not going to think about. People say they can compartmentalize, but I don't believe that they can push out a strong emotion of who they are when once they enter a place, right? It's one thing if you're going somewhere for a speech and you're like, I'm going to turn it on because I can turn it on and I can turn it off. But I actually think that still leaks out, right? If you're having a bad day or a traumatic event just happened, like that's
If
going
you
to
show
come
up at
through.
work, if you show up for work, virtual or in person, and there's no one you can trust. There's you don't feel safe. You are you're walking on eggshells. The level of anxiety you carry, the level of apprehension you carry, you're living on cortisol. You're living on adrenaline, and that's no way to live.
And
There's
people can
no
feel
way
it,
to live.
right? Like if I was like that, you would be able to feel it even through Zoom. You can feel it
Oh
when
yeah.
people are anxious.
We can't hide that long. We
Right.
can't hide. Like we either go quiet or go off camera. Like we talk loud. 80%, I've heard it said 80% of workplace decisions are emotion based. And we're so emotional and we're so driven by how we feel, and we feel each other because we're meant to be a collective. We're meant to draw energy off of each other. The best teams, right, go the furthest and the farthest because you synergize all of those abilities into a greater than the sum of its parts, right? The whole is greater. So that's why the highest performing teams, they have some kind of creed or code or way that they operate from that allows them to stay at that level of high performance. And that to go back to your original thought, that's why a strengths approach, I think, really caught on in corporate, is that it has its goal as sustained excellence. Like the goal is not just to do something that makes us feel better, it's to sustain the highest possible performance we can for the longest. And that's a different approach. And
Yeah.
our company does work in public sector, and they're not often thinking like that. They don't think in terms of high performance and sustained excellence.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yet
because
when
your
you bring it to
infrastructure
them,
has created something for them to believe something else, right? Like
right.
the longest that
But
you're
when
there.
challenged and given the opportunity, people want to be part of a winning team. Winning's motivating. Feeling like we're
Yeah,
winning and we're crushing our goals, and we're the go-to, and we're acknowledged and we're awarded, and like, people want to be on that team. That's
totally.
fun. Yeah.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
want to join. I want to join the champion. I want to be
Right.
part of that. I want on that bandwagon. It's
Right.
it's humans. It's human
Right.
nature.
Right. Public or private, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what are you doing at 34 Strong for the future, right? So, this is like an incredible foundation, but I know you in strengths based coaching, but I know that you're building on that because you can't sit still and there's more out there and technology is changing and people are changing and organizations are changing. So, like, tell me more about like what you've got going on, what you can share, what you've got going on for the future.
Yeah, I think because we're part of a global movement in terms of coaches in the world. So I was one of the first 7 certified to be a strengths certified coach, and now there's 40,000 of us. And
Wow.
so to be part of a movement that's really passionate, people are really interested. And so being a part of that, we want to be positioned as a global leader, not only in the work we do and the work opportunities we have for those coaches, but also to be a part of supporting their dreams, coaches that want to grow their brands, expand their reach. And so we just launched a brand called Coach Strong, and we're introducing other tools and resources for coaches and looking at ways that we can help those who want to be entrepreneurs really be successful in that reach, but intrapreneurs, how to also support them when they want to do work inside of their orgs. So that's been really cool. That's our last 6 months of putting that together. And then, we're also aware that in this age of fast growth, change, what we're all trying to figure out relative to technology and artificial intelligence, and what do you do with this? So, paying attention to technology as part of our growth strategy, and awareness that, we may all one day, have access to coaches that are part of our artificial intelligence
Yeah.
suite. And so
Which is so
how do you
strange to
program?
think about it today, and maybe I'll listen to this in 10 years and think, "I can't even believe I doubted that," but there's this piece of AI that, um, I always question it is, like, where the soul of AI, it's just a trained technology, but, like, there's something within the soul of a human that I don't think can be replicated through technology. You can call me wrong, that's fine. I see
Well,
AI as a
I think of it this way.
tool.
I think of, like, I watched, I haven't gone back and watched it recently, but Iron Man's AI executive assistant Jarvis.
Okay.
And I just think about, yeah, it would be really cool to have the ability to, hey, schedule this, hey, go do that, hey, look this up, hey, like to have access to a being that had that kind of speed. Now, that was a pretty advanced, you know, depiction of something. But if you think about the where the technology is moving, yeah, of course. Now, do I think it replaces a therapist, a coach, a human interaction? I don't. Can I believe that there will be some instances where you just learned something, or bought something, and you need someone to walk you through what you bought or help you understand what you did? Could I believe that there will be instructions that can come from, a sentient being? Yeah, I
Yeah,
can. I can
for
I
sure.
can see them. I can see them getting there. So that's where I mean. I think understanding text moving. We have generations coming up being raised on it. Your children are old enough to know how to use AI to get around their homework.
You know what's
Um,
really interesting though? They know how to use tech, but I would challenge them if they know how to use the forms and features of like Microsoft Word, Excel, like all the Microsoft suite. I've interacted with the generation below me in the workplace, and they are a bit stuck on those tools. It's really interesting. It's I wouldn't call it good or bad. It's just different. So when
I
we
lead a
define tech, it's different.
I lead a young adult group,
Uh-huh.
and I just had them last night. We were talking about putting together a graphic for something. We were to create a graphic and do this thing, and I said, so maybe one of you in the room like know how to do some graphic work, and one of them goes, Chat GBT. And I just thought, and
You're
in my mind, I'm like, naturally, what was I thinking?
right.
Why, why,
Well,
why, why
that's
would
a nice
one of you,
euphemism.
why would one of you 19-year-olds, or 20-year-olds do that? Like, they're like, we don't create that. Like, you just plug in what you want. I
Totally.
thought,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
However you get there, it's your journey. Just get
That's right.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap things up, I want to know if you had there was so many so much good information and wisdom that you provided. Um, but if somebody could walk away and do one thing today that they would help them move the needle in the right direction, just 1%, right? So we're not looking for revolutionary change overnight, but something simple, because I believe we've over engineered things in life and people have, it's like death by analysis paralysis. Like, what is that one thing you would say, go do now to start changing the way you impact your life, your personal life, your professional life, your teams, organizations, whatever.
I think you did it earlier when you said, I'm going to take this information, I'm going to go apply it to my kids. And so I would say, hey, parents, learn who they are. Go learn who your kid is, because like if I could communicate strongly, especially when they get into their junior high school years, like, you have a very short porch at that point. Like, this is it. This is your greatest influence you're going to have, where you don't have to be invited into it because you're still the parent. Because after they move on, you have to be invited in for influence. They can control that now. And so if you're listening today, you're a parent of whatever age kids, learn who your kids are, not who you think they are. Learn who they are,
Or who you want them to be.
oh, please don't do that. Yeah. Learn who your kids are in the way they're built, and in this realm of what are their what is their makeup from a strengths and personality, like so powerful to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your nuggets of wisdom. I appreciate you and sharing your story about what awful looked like too. That kind of defined who you are and what you do moving forward. So I really appreciate you sharing all that and being on today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And that's a wrap on today's great conversation with Brandon. It's kind of wild to think that this all started from a simple podcast introduction and came full circle into an actual collaboration. Proof that connecting with someone can really turn into so much more. I'll never say no to a conversation. Brandon and I covered a lot of ground, from surviving a tough work culture to rethinking leadership through a strengths lens, and even how that plays out at home with our families. The big takeaway today: stop trying to fix what's wrong and start amplifying what's strong. And with that, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep vibing, my friends. If this episode inspired you and you want to see how you can take the next step to creating a better vibe within your organization, I'd love for you to download our complimentary 75 Vibes worksheet. This is a simple tool to create a habit and mindset around creating great vibes in work and life. The best part, it's simple and it works.